One of the most commonly asked questions in general is how to be happy. You know, it's a question that we all subconsciously work towards finding the answer to every single day of our lives. And the most clear-cut way to actually being happy, and deep down inside you probably already know this, but it's to do something difficult, to do something hard, and see it all the way through. Like, it's actually just that simple. And ironically enough, it's the most genuine way to becoming more confident in yourself. Because when it comes to confidence, people will tell you things like stand up straight, speak with your chest, make eye contact, dress nicely, like all these small remedial things that can help momentarily, but doesn't actually translate to real confidence because it doesn't change who you are, it doesn't help you grow or evolve, or doesn't build your character. Like, the only real way to actually building true confidence is to do something difficult, finish it, and repeat that process over and over again. And the more you repeat this process, the higher level your confidence is at. There is no other way. Like, if you really think about it, right, there's no way to truly know yourself without going through difficult situations. And when you actually go through those difficult situations, you get this sense of accomplishment that you can't get anywhere else. And this is something that every single person can relate to. Like, it's the second best feeling in the world right after helping other people. And it makes you happy because, number one, our brain rewards success, right? It elicits dopamine. And it gives you confidence because it confirms a certain level of competence about yourself, because you were able to prove something about yourself that you didn't know up until that point. You know, growing up, there was probably a point in time where you maybe felt like a loser, maybe you felt like a fraud, maybe you felt like you didn't belong. Maybe you had a mindset where you thought to yourself, maybe I'm just destined to be a loser, I can't do anything right, I don't have any value, girls don't like me, I don't have any friends, I have no talent. Like, these are all thoughts that you probably had at some point. Maybe it's the case that you feel that way right now. When you actually do something difficult and you see it all the way through, you start to believe in yourself. You start to think, maybe I can do it. Maybe I do have potential. Maybe I do have value to bring. Maybe I can create impact. Maybe I'm not a loser. Maybe I'm not destined to just be a failure. Just step by step, day by day, brick by brick, like, this is how true confidence is built. Like, human beings are quite literally built to adapt, grow, and evolve. And this is actually why when you're progressing in life, that's when you feel the most happiness. That's when you feel the most alive. And it's also why not progressing in life is also synonymous with dying. And that's also why 9 times out of 10, whenever you're depressed, right, it was most likely the case that you weren't doing anything. You were staying still in life. If you guys have watched more than a few of my videos, you'll hear me reference boxing every now and then. And that's because that was something difficult for me, right? It was something that made me happier and also made me a lot more confident. And actually, one of the happiest days of my life was when I really got my ass kicked for the first time. Not just punched up a little bit where you're a little bit sore afterwards the next day, but like actually beat up. Nose all busted, bloodied, injured, shouldered, got a headache the entire day, the entire night. Like, I could barely make my way home. First time I probably exhausted myself 120, 130%. Like, I've never been that beat up and that tired ever in my life. But as painful as that was from a physical point of view, I'll never forget that drive home afterwards. I was driving one arm because my shoulder was busted, I got an insane headache, I could still taste the blood going down my throat from my nose. But as much as that hurt and all I wanted to do was take a shower and lay down and go to sleep, there was also an overwhelming amount of serotonin going through my body and such a gratifying feeling that I couldn't explain. Like, that physical pain that I was feeling was such a contrast from how I was feeling mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Like, I was on cloud 9. That entire drive home, it felt like I was on a cloud. And that feeling only really comes from doing something so difficult and seeing it all the way through. Like, that sense of happiness from accomplishments can't be replicated, and it's something that we can all access. And it's also how you find yourself and how you build true character. One thing I figured out through boxing is that I don't have a single quit in me. Like, I've always believed that about myself, right? Like, that I never give up, that I have heart, etc. But really nothing you believe about yourself means anything until that's been tested. Like, for example, right, yeah, you can say that you're loyal all you want just because you've been with one person for 5-10 years. But has that loyalty ever been tested? Were you ever in difficult situations where it was hard to be loyal? That's why when you love someone, when things are good, sunshine and rainbows, it doesn't mean a single thing. Like, under the context of relationships, right, does she still love you when things get difficult? Does she still love you when the lights go off? How much does she love you then? How loyal is she? Like, yeah, you can be brave when it's easy to be brave. But how brave are you when there's 10-20 guys about to jump one of your friends, right? So nothing you really believe about yourself means anything until difficulty arises that challenges that belief. That's why going through those difficult situations, especially as a guy, is so necessary. And this was something that boxing helped me know about myself. Like, when it comes to something that I actually care about, I never give up. Like, I'm the type where you'd actually have to put me out. And I'm actually really proud to say that because I've been in there with guys way more experienced, 50 plus, 60 plus amateur fights, all that. You know, guys that weigh 40, 50, 60 pounds heavier than me. And I've been hit hard, I've been hit clean more than a few times. And the punches that hurt the most, and anybody that does combat sports probably knows this, but it's the straight punches to your nose and upper lip. Like those punches, if you've ever taken a straight 2 with no head guard, those punches hurt by far the most. It's like getting stung but with like a blunt force. Like the hooks to the face you can kind of roll with and it's on a flat surface, doesn't hurt that bad. But it's the straight punches to your nose. It's really only in the beginning stages where you don't really know how to hold back. You know, everything is so chaotic and frantic and you accidentally hit your opponent a little bit too hard and then he gets mad and hits you harder, and then by the end of the round you guys are both trying to kill each other. And even though I'm exhausted, hurt, gassed, my legs are hurting, I can't move, I always have this stupid smile on my face. Like each and every single time I'm overcome with dopamine and serotonin because I know that this is what's necessary. This pain I'm feeling is a blessing. That's the difficulty of the situation. Like this is where you can grow and evolve and become better. It's really only in those moments where you have the opportunity to grow and be stronger. Again, right, because you can only find yourself in those difficult situations. This is where true happiness and true confidence is. And the reason why I'm referencing boxing is because it bleeds into all the other areas of my life. It's a reason why I have strong self-belief. It's a reason why I never get nervous on dates, right? Some people might think that it's irrational, but I'll just think to myself like, bro, you get your ass kicked all the time. You're afraid to talk to a woman? Like, hold up, let me get this straight. You're afraid to talk to another person? You're afraid to talk to a human being? It's like, come on, bro, the only thing you should fear is God. Like, overcoming adversity time and time again is what's going to boost your self-esteem, your confidence, your self-worth, and your self-belief. And it's overall just going to make you a much happier person in general, I promise you. And also, the difficulty of the situation is relative, right? Like, if you're fat or haven't exercised in a year, going on a 3-mile run is probably going to be difficult for you. But if you're someone that exercises and works out regular, then that's probably going to be easy. The key point is that you can't cheat yourself. You have to do what's difficult for you. It's overcoming that suffering that forces you to confront yourself and your weaknesses. And this is something that Carl Jung spoke about when he talked about the role of suffering and using it as a catalyst for growth. For example, I always thought that I was in shape because I was active, I would play sports, I would play basketball, I would go on runs, I would go to the gym. Like, I always thought that I was relatively in shape. That belief about my identity completely shattered when I started boxing. You know, 2-3 rounds into a sparring session, I'm completely exhausted. And bro, when I tell you I was shocked, I was like, how did 6 to 9 minutes of activity make me this exhausted? That suffering, that difficult situation forced me to break down this belief about myself about being in good shape, having cardio. It forced me to reevaluate an aspect of my identity. And that was when I actually started thinking about it. I was like, when I go on runs, I do tend to jog when I get tired. You know, I do tend to not sprint as hard when I'm going uphill. For example, when that test was more difficult than you thought it was, right? It makes you reevaluate. Did I actually put 100% into studying? Or was I thinking about girls? Was I on my phone? Was I on social media? You know, it forces you to self-analyze. And also, suffering through difficult situations is also where you can derive meaning in your life. You will never find the answers you're looking for if there is no suffering. Like, the answers that you're looking for will come when you understand the meaning and purpose of that suffering. That's what makes you happy. It's like no one really wants to go to the gym to tear their muscles apart because it's unnatural. Like, there's a lot of suffering involved, right? But when there's a meaning in that suffering, whether it's wanting to see the extent to which you can mold your body or even getting girls, right? When you find meaning or purpose in that suffering, right? All of a sudden, you're more than happy to endure that suffering. All of a sudden, you're more than willing to tear your muscles apart. If you have no purpose, then you're not going to endure that suffering. Same thing goes for work or anything else in life. And also, one more thing, I'm kind of yapping, but last point, I promise. A lot of people subconsciously believe that by avoiding what's difficult, you also get to avoid suffering, which isn't the case. You might avoid immediate suffering by not doing whatever that thing is, but that long-term suffering is a nasty feeling that lingers for the rest of your life. For example, if you avoid risk, right, you might momentarily avoid getting embarrassed or failing, but what lingers is the feeling of regret and missed opportunities. Or you might avoid failure, right, but what lingers is complacency for the rest of your life and mediocrity. You might avoid tough conversations in your life, but that results in having shallow relationships with the people around you. Avoiding difficult situations will give you a spiritual suffering that you have to deal with for the rest of your life. You know, it's going to eat at your soul like a parasite. If you do what's difficult and see it all the way through, that's what's going to elevate every single aspect of your life. And it's also what God intended for us. That's the reason why we're here. That's the reason why we face difficult situations in our life. You're supposed to. Anyways, hopefully you guys got something from that. Thank you for listening. I love you. I appreciate you. With that said, make sure you guys stay true. Talk to you guys real soon. Peace.